Hey YouTube, Ed here from Jack of All Trades. So I got a bit of a different video here for you today. I've got my ICOtec game call. I coyote hunt in the wintertime out here. And so I've been using an ICOtec game call, and one day when I was out coyote hunting, the call just stopped working. So thinking maybe I ran it out of batteries or something, I drove to the nearest town and I put brand new batteries in it and tested it out, and it still didn't work. So you can see there's a red light. I've got it turned on there. And if I use the remote, I can turn the decoy off, so the remote is working. And if I hit one of the buttons for calling, there's no sound coming out of it. It's completely dead. I'll bump the volume button up a bunch of times and I'll hit the call button again, nothing. So I got it home and I plugged in the back of these calls, there's a plug-in for an external speaker, and I plugged in the external speaker and the external speaker worked. So that tells me that it's very likely that the speaker internal here was bad. And I did some testing, and I'll go over the testing here in the video a little bit, but I used my voltmeter. I took it apart and used my voltmeter and determined that the speaker was in fact bad. So I called ICOtec, and ICOtec was very good to work with, and they were going to send me a whole new call, and I said, well, that's just silly, just send me a speaker. I can change the speaker out. I fixed radios for the Army for a number of years. I can certainly manage to replace a speaker in a game call. So what I'm going to show you today is how to do just exactly that. What I did to test it to verify that the speaker was in fact bad, and then I'm going to show you how to actually physically replace the internal speaker on this thing. As it turns out, this thing was technically still under warranty because I just bought it. And like I said, they were prepared to send me a whole new call, and I offered up. I just said, just send me a new speaker. I've got the speaker today now, and so we're going to change it out. So let me change the camera angle here, and we'll zoom in a little bit, and I'll show you exactly what I did and what to do, so that if you happen to have one that has a speaker that goes bad, you can just call ICOtec and have them, you'll probably, if it's out of warranty, you'll probably have to buy it. I don't know what the cost would be, but then you can get a new speaker installed in your game call and you can get it working again. So let me change the camera angle and move in a little closer, and let's get this project done. All right, so here we've got my call, and I'm going to show you what I was talking to you about here. Right here is the external speaker, and if you run that little tab away, you can actually plug in an external speaker there. And like I said, when the call went dead and I got it home, I actually plugged in an external speaker and it worked. So that was the first thing I did to test this, to verify that it was, if it was an internal or an external or what the problem was. So once I did that, I got it home and I took it apart. So let's go over the process here to take it apart first off. So the very first thing you need to do, and this one happens to have the decoy attachment attached to it. If you hunt with this game call and you don't have the decoy attachment, I would highly recommend it. So the first thing I do is I actually will take the decoy attachment off just to make it easier to work with. And the reason, we'll set that off to the side here. The reason I take the decoy attachment off is because anytime you work with something electronic, you got to always make sure that the power's off. And this is no different. This isn't for a safety reason. This is more so you don't ruin the electronics inside. So go ahead and just pull the batteries out of this thing. And once the batteries are all out, then it's a matter of removing all these screws. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 screws to remove. And I've already had this apart, so while I'm removing the screws, I'll talk a little bit. All 6 of these screws are exactly the same. There's no differences in lengths, size, or anything of that effect. So you don't have to really worry about keeping them in any kind of an order or making sure you get the same screw back in the same hole. It's just a matter of getting them out. Okay, so I've got all the screws out. Let me give you a little tip here. Don't use a power screwdriver. Use a manual screwdriver to pull these out. 2 reasons. One, this is only plastic. And if you use a power screwdriver, you actually run the risk of heating up the plastic, running the screws in and out, and possibly melting it. I've done that before. Not on this, but on other things that I've worked on. The other thing is when you're putting the screws in, unless you have a clutch system or something on here to keep the screws from stripping out, you'll actually strip them. So a power screwdriver is not always advantageous, and I would certainly just stick to a manual screwdriver. It doesn't save you that much more time. So I've got all the screws out, and then it's just a matter of, now you've got a little label down here, and this is ICOtec's way of knowing whether or not you took the call apart. Now, if this thing isn't under warranty, it doesn't matter anymore. So you can actually just peel back the label, or you can just flip it open and peel back the label as such. And there you have your call. This is quite obviously the speaker, and it's not anything complicated. Now, while you've got this call apart, resist any urge to touch this circuit board any more than you absolutely have to. Especially if you're doing this in, say, the winter time when the humidity level is really low. There's a tendency for the human body to generate static electricity. That's why when you're wearing socks in your house and you rub your feet across the carpet and then you go touch your wife's nose and you give her a shock and it's all kinds of funny, that's why that happens. So resist any urge that you can to touch these circuit boards in here, because static electricity will fry the circuitry in here and then you have got far bigger problems. So here's the speaker. The speaker just lifts out. It's very, very simple. And then right here is a little white clip. And on the top of that little white clip is a bit of a push button, and just grab onto that thing and push the button and just kind of just wiggle it out and pull it straight out. And it doesn't take a ton of pressure, but there's the bad speaker. Now, let's set this aside. This was the second test I did to verify that the speaker was bad. So speakers, if you don't know anything about them, this is a magnet, and on the back side of this magnet is actually the speaker diaphragm itself. And without taking this, well, and let me just, the speaker's bad, so let me just take it apart and show you. So you got a big magnet there, and it's quite weighty. And inside this magnet, or on the back side of this magnet, is the diaphragm. And this diaphragm moving up and down is what actually produces the sound. So what happens is these 2 wires are connected to the middle of this diaphragm right here, and inside this diaphragm are a whole bunch of windings of wire. Wrap after wrap after wrap after wrap of wire. And what happens is the speaker, power comes in the red wire, and it creates a magnetic field around this copper wiring, and then comes back out again. And so all that all those wrappings of wire in there is all one continuous long wire. And anytime you pass electricity through a conductor, it creates a magnetic field. That's Science 101. And so what happens is it creates a magnetic field, and it pushes up and down against this magnet, and it vibrates at a really high rate of speed, thusly producing sound. So, as I stated, this wire is one continuous loop of wire. So what I did was I took my multimeter, and unless you have a multimeter, you really can't do this, but you can get a multimeter very, very inexpensively. Few bucks, 10, 15 bucks, you can get a multimeter, and they have hundreds of uses. Now, this isn't a $10, $15 multimeter. This is a Fluke, and it's a very good multimeter. But you just set the multimeter to ohms, and you can see right now it says OL if it's a digital. If it's an analog one, or if it's got a needle that deflects, when you set it to ohms, it'll read 0. And then when I touch the leads together, it gives you a reading. It's 0.2 ohms. So basically, you're just running a straight copper conductor with very, very little resistance. So I take and I touch my positive lead to the conductor on the positive part of the clip, and I touch my negative lead to the conductor on the negative side of the clip. And you can see it's reading open link. That means that that wire has got a break in it somewhere. And if there's a break in that wire, it's not going to work. There, I'm touching the leads together. It should read some kind of resistance, and it's not reading anything. So there's a break in this wire. Therefore, this speaker is bad. So here's the new speaker that I got from today from ICOtec. You can see it's already got the correct kind of plug on it. And if I do the test on this one, you can see it's got a reading. It's 2.5 ohms. And that means that this speaker is good. It is not an open link, so therefore this speaker should work. That's how you test a speaker to make sure that the speaker works or not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install the speaker back in the call, and you basically do everything in exactly the reverse order. Set the speaker back in the call the way you took out the old one. Take and plug the plug back in and make sure you get it oriented correctly. It'll only go in one way. Push it straight on. And there it should be plugged in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and kind of take this wire and kind of tuck it down here, so when you close it back up, it doesn't get pinched in the casing. Make sure the speaker is set well into the groove where it's supposed to be. I'm just going to close the case up without putting any screws in it, making sure we got everything lined up. And now I'm going to put the batteries back in it. I'm not putting the screws in just yet. And I'm just going to verify that it works. Go ahead and turn the call on. And the call is working. So now we know the call is working. I'm going to turn the machine back off again, and then I'm going to put the screws back in it. Make sure you get all 6 screws back in. Okay, I've got all the screws back in. I've got the decoy mounted back up. Plug the decoy back into its port as such. I'm going to turn the call back on. Turn the decoy on. Okay, the button for the decoy is working. And the call is working. So everything is working. All right, so there you have it. That's how you change the speaker in your ICOtec game call. I don't imagine it's a whole lot different for other game calls. If the thing's not working, it's pretty much useless to you anyway, so there's really no harm, unless it's under warranty, in pulling out a screwdriver and taking it apart to see what you can learn. If it's under warranty, now, like I said, the bottom of this call has got a little sticker here, and I'm sure, because it goes across the seam of the call, that's ICOtec's way of determining whether or not you've taken the machine apart or not, which typically, if you've taken the machine apart, it will void your warranty. But if it's out of warranty, it's something that's worth, you know, like I said, pulling out a screwdriver. Maybe it's something you can fix rather than going out and spending a whole bunch of money on a new call. A lot of times, if you call these companies, they have parts and they can provide you with the parts so that you can fix these things. Seems like we're in a day and age now where people, they get a call that doesn't work in the first thing, or get anything that doesn't work, and they throw it away and they go out and buy a new one, which is a colossal waste of money. I like this call. I like the way it works, and I'm going to do a review on this call here in another video. But it saved me a little bit of money by actually calling ICOtec and saying, hey, this thing's broken. Now, like I said, this was still under warranty. I used to be an electronics tech for the military, so taking a game call apart really isn't a big deal to me. I used to fix radios for the Army and work on radios for the Army, and this doesn't scare me. So I took the 6 screws out and I just did a little checking, and I verified that all I had to do was replace a speaker. So now that my speaker's replaced, I'm back in business. I don't have to carry around a second external speaker, and it makes the whole package much more convenient. I do a lot of snowshoe hunting, and the less I have to carry, the better. And so now I don't have to carry an external speaker with me. At any rate, I hope this video helps you guys out. For anybody who's got one of these calls where if a speaker goes bad, and it's not ICOtec's fault. It's one of those things. It's a piece of electronics and they go bad. And if you can fix it and save yourself a little bit of money, awesome, let's do it. So thank you for watching the video. If you like what you see in this content, please hit that subscribe button below and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Give me some comments and some feedback on what you think I can do differently. I've had a few people tell me that my audio wasn't so great, so I am now working with a new wireless microphone, which is awesome, and it makes the sound quality a whole lot better. And I've gotten a newer tripod set up, and it holds my camera, and it's just a little bit better quality. So we're making strides to make the video content a little better. So please hit like and subscribe. ICOtec didn't pay me to do this. I bought this call. They didn't sponsor this video. I'm just showing you guys how to maybe fix something that breaks for you. And like I said, I wouldn't imagine that the process is a whole lot different for other game calls. If you run into this, maybe it's something you can fix yourself, and you're never going to know that unless you pull out a screwdriver and give it a try. So at any rate, Ed here from Jack of All Trades. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.